So the application problem for today, at the Highland Falls Pumpkin Growing Contest, the prize-winning pumpkin contains 360 seeds. The proud farmer plans to sell his seeds in packs of 12. How many packs can he make using all the seeds? Now, I want the RDW method. So thinking about this, what could I draw that's going to be able to show me 360 seeds in packs of 12? Daniel, what do you think? Here's a hint.
The tape diagram.
Very good. Now, where would I put 360? Go ahead and draw your tape diagram. Where would I put 360 on this, Daniel?
On the top.
Very good. He's with me. Are you with me, class? Okay. In groups of 12. You think you can take it from here and solve the problem? Okay, I'm going to pause it while you solve the problem, then we'll talk about it. Okay, so how many equal-sized boxes did you draw, boys and girls? 12. Okay. And if I do that, it'll be 4 groups of 3 is how I figured this out, to make them pretty equal. And what problem did you write? Did you write?
360 divided by 12.
Okay. And how did you, somebody tell you how you solved the problem. Mario, tell me how you solved this problem.
I divided 360 by 12.
You did? Or did you take easier numbers than 360 and 12?
36.
36. He used a 36. Okay.
Got rid of the
How many of you used the 36? Okay. And then you could have done 36 divided by 12. Or how many of you thought, well, 12 times 3 is 36? How many of you thought that in your head? Okay. Then what about the 0? Put it back on. Okay. So basically, 36 divided by 12 is 3. And we put the 0 back on. So in math, a lot of times, we can take a 0 off and put a 0 back on. What's really happening when I take a 0 off and put it back on?
You're moving the
You're
the
sort
decimal.
of moving the decimal, aren't you? Yeah. How do I get rid of a 0?
Stick out. Closer.
Multiply or divide? Divide. So like Daniel said, I'm moving the decimal over here, which really means divide by 10, correct? And then, got the decimal right here, and I'm moving it over here, which really means multiply by 10. So when you take it off and you put it back on, you're actually doing something mathematical, okay? You might think of it as a trick, Miley.
The way I figured out what the problem was about is that I underlined the last sentence because it said how many packs can you make using all the seeds. That mostly helped me.
And so that helped you know you were going to divide, okay? All right, now I want to show you another way to write it, because you're probably going to run across this in the next few lessons, okay? So here's another way to write it. I could think in my head, and if you have room underneath yours, go ahead and write this. 36 times 10. Because my goal is to get that 10 by itself somewhere. Okay? Because if I can get the 10 over by itself, then I can take care of that 0. I can divide by 10 and then multiply by 10 again. So if I do this right here, 36 times 10, isn't that the same thing as 360? Now there's no reason why I can't move that 10 around, is there?
No.
So would you rather have the 10 over here where the 12 is?
Yes.
I would too. The thing is, you've got to remember, if I move this 10, the multiplication sign has to go with it. Okay? What property tells me I can move digits around and it doesn't matter the order?
Division.
Commutative property. Very good. Okay, so Jose's right. I'm actually going to put the 10 on the outside, so I have to divide on the inside of the parentheses. Okay, now how do you solve this problem? 36 divided by 12. Isn't that what
We did up there.
we did in our heads, didn't we? Which is what?
30.
3. And then we take 3 times 10, and what did we get?
30.
30.
For some
Okay.
reason, I feel like we've done this.
We have. It wasn't exactly the same, though, because before we had a multiplication sign here. Okay? Now, you're seeing how you can take a multiplication and a division sign and still switch those numbers around. What you have to remember is, are you listening to me? You have to move the multiplication sign right along with the 10 if you're going to move the 10. Okay? All right, and this goes back to expressions and equations and that really hard part on the last test we took. Okay? So thank you for paying such careful attention. Now for today's lesson.
Yay.
Normally, when we start something, you could probably figure out the answer in, what, a minute or less? What do I usually teach you when we start a new concept? Tricks. What's another word for those tricks? Strategies. Okay? So guess what? Probably going to take you less than a minute to solve all the problems on this page. I don't care what the answer is. What do you think I care about? The strategy, okay? So when you come to class tomorrow, here's what I want. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
The first one is going to be, what are 2 ways that I can get a starting point when I am dividing? So would you like to know the answer to that question?
Yes.
Okay. I can estimate, which we've already practiced, right? Or I can
Skip count.
skip count. So today we will practice 2 ways to get a starting point. Please write skip count on your paper. Okay. So let's go back to our estimation strategy. We did that in lessons 16, 17, and 18. We did it on the front of today's paper, didn't we? Okay. We round the divisor to the nearest 10. It's already done. And then we choose a number close to the dividend. 60. Now, I could choose 90, couldn't I? But I don't want to choose a number larger than my dividend. So 60's right. So according to my first strategy of finding a starting point, I would write a 2 on the top of my division sign, correct? You'll see. Okay, the next strategy is to skip count. You're going to skip count by your divisor. What's your divisor? 30. Okay. So that's just like skip counting by 3's, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but you had a 0. So you tell me what to write and I'll write it.
36, 60, 100,
60, 90.
3, 6, 9.
12,
20,
100,
80,
15.
18.
Should we, hey, stop. Should we just stick with 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21?
Yes.
And not worry about saying the number? Then go back and put the zeros on. Okay, everybody skip count. Do it at least to 210 for me.
We have to do it?
Yep.
Already got it.
Okay? Now, which one of these numbers is closest to 70?
60.
So I'm going to circle it. This is a strategy I'm teaching you. It will be very helpful down the road, like next week. Okay? I think we have. So all I have to do here is count how many digits or how many numbers. 1, 2. So this tells me that 2 is going to be my starting point. Clever, huh?
Yes.
Does it match this
Yes.
method also? Okay, so that was the first question I'm going to ask you. What are the 2 ways to find a starting point? Okay. Second question. Where does the divisor go?
On top.
On this side.
Outside the doghouse. Where does the divisor go?
Inside.
Outside of the doghouse. Is this on top?
No.
No. So 70 divided by 30 is written 70 divided by 30. That's very important. You don't want to switch those numbers around or you're going to have the wrong problem and it's going to get you the wrong answer. Okay? All right. So what was my starting point, boys and girls? 2. I've got it in 2 places. So I'm going to put a 2 at the top. Here's what we have to talk about. Where am I going to write the 2? This is a question I asked myself. Will 30 fit into 7?
No.
Put a 0 up there. Can I make 30 groups out of the number 7? No, I cannot. Can I make 30 groups out of the number 70?
Yes.
How many groups of 30 can I make?
2.
Oh, there's that 2. Okay, now 2 times 30 is, which you know right here. So you don't even have to think about it, do you? And then subtract.
1.
So I got 10. Now we're just going to we're going to have a remainder for a few days, okay? So all I have to do is write remainder 10. And please write a capital R. I'll talk about why later. Okay? Now, I'm going to highlight for you a few things. I'm going to highlight 3 numbers. Okay, you need to pay careful attention to this.
Can we circle it?
You can.
Or can we shade it?
No. So these 3 numbers are important. Did you notice they kind of make a triangle?
Yeah.
I need all 3 of these numbers to check my problem. So who remembers how to check a long division problem? All the way back from 4th grade. Lexi, what do?
Multiply.
You have to multiply, okay? So you're going to multiply your divisor times your quotient. Which 2 numbers are those?
30.
30 and 2. Very good. So 30 times 2 equals 60.
Plus.
Go ahead and write that much. And then Thomas is saying we're going to have to add something in. What do you think we're adding in?
We're adding.
The 10 remainder.
10.
The remainder. Good. The number I haven't used.
I learned that 3rd grade actually.
Okay. So if my answer here matches the dividend, my problem checks out. And I want you to notice that these 3 numbers in the triangle have to be in the problem that you write down when you check it. Okay. Well, I don't know that you want to do arrows on all of them. It might get kind of confusing. Okay, let's practice another. And by the way, this is a strategy. It's going to get a little bit harder each day. Take a look at this one. Okay, so what are the 2 ways to get a starting point? Estimate and
Skip counting.
awesome. Write that down. By the way, skip counting is also known as multiples. Multiples. So if you see the word multiples, all it is skip counting. Okay, so what will we skip count by this time?
60s.
60s. So I take the divisor, round it to the nearest 10. Take a look at the 43. What number is close to 43 that 6 will divide into? Tobias? 42. So my starting point, according to the estimation method, is going to be 7. Okay? And we've already practiced this for several days. Okay, my starting point, according to skip counting,
6.
let's just skip count by 6s. Then we'll go back and add a 0. So 6,
12.
18,
24.
30, 36,
42.
42,
48.
48. I think I can stop there. Now I'm going to go back and put my zeros on. So go ahead and write those down. This is really going to be your best method when things get really hard. And you'll see that. Okay, so which one of these numbers down here, Jose, is closest to 430? 420, you can't go over. So circle it. Remember, I'm teaching you a strategy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we have a starting point at 7. The second question I'm going to ask you tomorrow when you walk in is, where does the divisor go on this doghouse division sign? Outside of the doghouse. Okay, so what's my divisor? 60. Okay, so 430 divided by 60 is written like that. And you just pretty much have to memorize it. Now here are some questions you're going to ask yourself. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Will 60 fit into 4?
Yes.
No.
No, it's way too big.
No.
Okay? Can I make a group of 60 out of 4?
No.
No. Can I make a group of 60 out of 43?
Yes.
No.
No.
430 you can.
So I need 2 zeros. If I look at, here's what I want you to look at. Look at your divisor. Look at the first 2 numbers, first 2 digits. 60 is still too large. Okay? Okay. So what was our starting point, boys and girls?
7.
And we know 6 times 7 is 42. Add your 0. Remainder 10 again.
Next one is different.
Okay, now what numbers am I going to highlight here? 60, that's my divisor. Okay. Good. 7, what's that called? Do you remember the answer to a division problem? Quotient. Oh my goodness, you guys are on today. Okay, what will I multiply here, Genesis? 60 times 7. Very good. Divisor times your quotient. And we already know it's 420. And then we're going to finish this problem before you guys leave, okay?
Okay.
And then I'm going to add my remainder. And it should be the dividend that I end up with. Okay, you guys did great.